They didn't have right to peaceful assembly. If somehow 2 or 3 of them came together, they were arrested, mistreated, uh, straight away, straight away. Uh, Freedom of association was no for them anyway. They didn't have right to privacy because their phones, their communications were followed, recorded, listened as usual. Their right to education was another violation for them. We have got one person among this group, and now I do not say who it is, but if she would like to explain that it was her that her right to education was violated, she could explain herself. If let's say PhD students or graduate student undergraduate students were named in the KHK victims, their education were cut off. They were thrown out from their universities. They're thrown out from their educational programs or another thing. Their their bursaries uh, were cut off. Anybody who supported them, gave them some sort of educational support, they were treated as supporting terrorism or terrorists, so that their economic support was cut off, basically. Uh, uh, KHK victims didn't have freedom of opinion or expression. If they, let's say, printed some books or articles or expressed their views on government policies and practices in the country, uh, their books, their websites, their publications were banned more or less straight away. Uh, so their freedom of religion and belief is another violation item. Uh, well, if let's say if they were Muslims, obviously they could choose any religion if they like. But if they were Muslims, they wouldn't be accepted as Muslims. They would be named, called, that uh, treated as infidels in the minds of those political Islamists, plus those people who subscribed to their ideology. Uh, uh, for example, if a KHK victim asked for the way to Kaaba, they would just straight say that, look, for us Kaaba is that way, but we don't know your Kaaba is which way. So that they abused KHK victims as, you are not Muslim, you are not a true believer. If you are not with us, if you didn't subscribe, if you didn't sub, subscribe to our uh, uh, worldview. So if KHK victims somehow participated in elections, they sometimes they were allowed to participate in election. Then, if they won the election, they were banned from gaining to their post straight away. In a sense, they were tricked to enter the election. If they won, then they were not declared as the winners. And there are tens of examples. So they were sometimes, as I told you, tricked to enter. Sometimes they were banned straight away. Uh, their right to family, most of the time, were denied. I will not be going into details. Their children were treated as children of the terrorists, so that uh, if they were allowed to live long enough, would be terrorists. If they died, if the children had died, uh, they could be how should I say called a would-be terrorist uh, is well disappeared. Yes, a would-be terrorist disappeared from the face of earth. So they were happy. They the right to adequate standard of living denied for the KHK victims, as they lost their income from work. If somehow somebody gave to their charities to the victims, they were treated as as supporting terrorists and terrorism, uh, uh, so that nobody, hardly anybody, could give KHK victims any work or social some sort of social solidarity support. The state didn't give them any support anyway, so that in a sense they were actually left destitute, so that they could, should, and would die of hunger or malnutrition, this and that. Uh, so this was another violation of their right. They didn't get equal protection from the law, as you would guess from the previous articles. Uh, some of them were subjected to enforced disappearances. Their right to liberty and security uh, was not accepted, because they were usual suspects anyway. They were subjected to systematic defamation and harassment, and their uh, their economic rights were violated, as you would guess from the previous article. They were their right to their social rights were violated, as you would guess from the previous articles. Uh, they didn't have proper rights to participate in cultural life, because they were banned from setting up societies or joining societies, uh, or even school associations. So, I mean, as parents, and then they were punished collectively for supposed to be crime of others. Let's say a father is labeled as terrorist by the KHKs. Then his wife, his children, his brothers, his sisters, his parents, grandparents could be could be punished. Their social security benefits could be cut off. Their educational support could be cut off. They could be they they, they could be actually uh, arrested for no reason, or supposed to be minor things. Uh, so they didn't have any protection from the law. Uh, they didn't have freedom of movement. They were followed if they let's say travel to border areas, or or they were banned entering to some buildings, government buildings, this and that. That's why their freedom of movement was restricted quite highly. Their property rights were violated. Some were confiscated, and there are some other examples. Let me tell you some information on this. Some elderly people uh, donated their property after their death. That those property should go to some charities so that they could support the the beneficiaries, maybe citizens or elderly, uh, that that could benefit from their donated property after their deaths. What happened? The government, after KHKs, confiscated those property while those people were alive, are alive. Okay. Then what happened? The government asked those people, look, this property is our property now. If you'd like to use this property while you are alive, you have got to either leave the property or pay rent to us. And this this didn't happen just once. This happened in many places. So this is no joke. So even uh, some people donated their property to some uh, labeled uh, marked charities. They lost their property while they are alive, and this is no joke. It's reality. They obviously social. They lost obviously social security rights, as I mentioned earlier. They lost their right to health because of losing their social security issues, plus they losing their income, this and that. They were last violation, one of what they were forced into slave labor. Why? Because if they worked uh, in a registered business, in a registered work, as I told you before, the government official would call the business and then ask the manager, owner of that business, to dismiss those people. So HK victims felt that they had to work unregistered. It is an offense in the country, obviously. If somehow a business employed those people, uh, the employers wouldn't pay those unregistered workers their proper wage. You know, if even if they paid proper wage, since they looked like they are not working there, unemployed people, if let's say if they had some sort of accident on the work, they didn't have any rights to claim because they were not officially working for that business. And there are many other violations. I just listed just 35 of them and very quickly. And in details, these violations could amount to millions and billions of violations. Uh, I would like to cut here for now. Well, we may go into details in another programs if you like. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bayram. These violations, the level and scope is beyond comprehension, and so we're going to keep talking about it. And for our global audience, when Dr. Bayram was talking about KHK victims yesterday during our day two, he described and explained what the KHK is, and also the July 15, the implications of the July 15, 2016, that he calls special operations. And after that, the emergency, the state of emergency was declared, and as the result, the implementation of the decree laws. And now this is what we're talking about. But we will continue on that. But I would like to welcome a very special guest joining us from Germany, Anna Shengelia. Anna, please say hello to our global audience and introduce yourself.
Hello. I hope you can hear me this time. So yes, my name is Anna Shengelia. I am very happy that you invited me here today and to have this discussion with everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go back to Anna in a little bit, but now I would like to bring in to come back to our global dialogue for justice now in the second time. It's very, very important, and we are extremely grateful for your presence, Ms. Fatma Bostan Ünsal. And now we would like, it is very emotional topic. It is very important. And so you are talking about Gaza and the updates. And so please, the floor is yours.
Okay. After the Second World War, 60 million people were killed. So the world decided that from now on there will be no war. So many international humanitarian conventions or international mechanisms were invented. It was a good road to really, but on the same time, Israel was founded, and from the very day of the founding of Israel, the occupying and yeah, killing people, so make people um, forced migration. So everything against of international humanitarian laws were happened. Even though United Nations had many good decisions against this, it could not be implemented. So many years has passed, and especially on the 7th of October, the tension and or even the war, even the maybe now on the last stage on genocide, started to happen. And the last research says that almost 400,000 Palestinians people were lost. You know, 60,000 people were registered as named, but totally 400,000 people were lost. They were under rubbles, under other things. They don't know. Nobody knows the number of the Gazan people. So we see the genocide against Palestinians are happening before our eyes. And it's undermining the international humanitarian laws and international humanitarian mechanisms. There is International Criminal Court issued a warrant against Netanyahu, but the USA has issued a sanction against the judges of the International Criminal Court. It's undermining the humanitarian mechanism and also International Criminal Court. So it is it's very actually dangerous, not only for Gaza people, for whole world, because it's undermining the humanitarian law. So there's a saying in human rights circles. I am head of a human rights organization. If there is a human rights violation in any area, it's a threat to the world generally. So nowadays we see the genocide uh, in Gaza, but it's a threat to everywhere, because we need to stop this genocide. Otherwise, we will be the next victim of the genocide or other injustices. So we yesterday we went demonstrations on this. So try to we're raising awareness of Turkish people on that situation. And also, you know, uh, as it's undermining the international humanitarian mechanism and international humanitarian conventions, uh, some countries like us, people generally have sensed the double standard of the international humanitarian mechanism, so they do not respect the human rights. Even the rulers uh, do not respect human rights in Turkey. And brother Bayram Erzurumoğlu has elaborated very well. These situations are not irrelevant. So we see the humanitarian crisis and genocide in Gaza, uh, and also we see humanitarian crisis and also international human rights violations in Turkey. It's really related with each other. And also maybe Turkish people who are not so um, so they don't know about, or even they do not grow sympathy for the public servants dismissed by the government. They do not sympathy, but they have some sympathy, of course, for the Gazan people. But I can also address them that the genocide is happening in Gaza just because we are not under rule of law. If Turkey or other countries have rule of law, uh, the Israel could not make genocide against Gaza. It's again related. We need to recognize this relation. So, if we are against of genocide in Gaza, we need to restore human rights in Turkey, uh, in Europe, in the USA. It's so related. I mean, people are generally much more sensitive on Gaza issue, but they are not so sensitive on human rights violations in Turkey or in the USA or in Europe. It's actually this strategy makes uh, this strategy let this happen in Gaza. We need to relation this. So Gaza, we see every day more than 100 people were killed. They are innocent. They are just standing to get humor charity. I mean, they are under starvation. They are starvation. They have embargo against them. So there are some humanitarian aid, and they are waiting for humanitarian aid, but they were bombed. Starvation there, killing innocent people. Even some hospitals were targeted. It is obvious. It's so obvious of genocide against them is happening, but we need to recognize the relation with the Gaza and with the other human and rights violations. I just can say this.
Thank you very much. Um, geez, listening to you and learning, this is why our motto, our message at the Global Dialogue for Justice is refuse to stay silent, because it's very dangerous for all of us not to be aware, and not only not being aware, Miss Fatma, you said, is to connect,
Yes,
to
yes.
make that relationship of what's happening in different places in the world. So there's an urgency for the world community to act. So we are beyond learning what's going on. It's now time to act. So at this point, I would like to call on Anna. Anna, please tell us what is happening in the Republic of Georgia.
Hello. So, I mean, especially coming after the first two speakers, the problem in Georgia is less of a humanitarian issue. It is, however, still a human rights issue because the Georgia, when we're talking right now about the country Georgia in Europe and not the state in the U.S., also there might be some parallels. Georgia is experiencing serious democratic backsliding right now. Um, Last year in October, there were elections, and amid partly proven, partly like sort of, well, not quite proven, but like strongly suggested evidence of election fraud and election meddling, the back then ruling party has been re-elected for the fourth time now. Ruling party, mind you, that has been founded by a Russian oligarch. So I think it is very clear which direction this is going. So Georgia is a country that is at the crossroads between Europe and Asia. It is geographically actually located exactly on top of the border of Europe and Asia. Culturally and historically, it has had a lot of to do with Europe and is more closer to Europe. Um, and since the early 2000s, well, ever since the Soviet Union fell and since the early 2000s, it has been very quickly developing and growing, and also in the beginning orienting itself strongly towards the West. For example, joining the European Union and the NATO is part of the Georgian constitution. This is how dedicated it was to Western integration. However, just today I read this very brilliantly written article about the many illusions that the ruling party called Georgian Dream built up, and how they sort of for many, many years successfully kept up the illusion of Western integration while actually aligning the country closer to Russia and sort of similar, more autocratic players. Also, how they very cleverly put up this illusion that they're actually a little bit clumsy and incompetent and not very good, while they were very, very expertly dismantling all the checks and balances we have that keep democracies alive. So they were slowly discrediting the opposition. They were slowly, one by one, putting opposition leaders in prison. They were slowly reducing broadcasting rights for, let's say, neutral or opposition media while strengthening their own outlets. Um, just, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago, for example, a 21-year-old medicine student has been sentenced to prison for 5 years for participating in a protest against Georgian Dream's re-elections. So basically, since the elections happened, there have been non-stop ongoing protests in many parts of Georgia, among others also in the capital, with people demanding re-elections. These protests aren't really led by any opposition party. They're mostly organized organically by students who are very, very unhappy with the situation that is, well, or how it's developing, basically. Um, these protests were also fueled by the fact that as soon as the party got reelected, they immediately suspended all negotiations with the European Union about Georgia's joining. So Georgia currently has candidate status, but all further negotiations have been suspended officially until the next election, but unofficially they have been suspended indefinitely. So yes, what is under attack in Georgia is sort of our human right to participate in an open and egalitarian civil society and civic society.
We cannot hear you.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Anna, for this information. As we can hear the parallels, the beginning, if we compare what's happening in Georgia, the detention, and putting those who are against the government in prison. That is the characteristic of actually what is already happening. And that's why it's really dangerous if we continue to remain silent. So in different parts of the world, this beginning, the level is not there yet as what we are seeing in Turkey and in Gaza, but this is like creeping to us little by little, and it's also happening in the United States and different parts of the world. So I thank you very much. And so before we go on our round three, I would like to ask our guest, if you have a question to any of you, if you have a question to Anna, Dr. Bayram, or Miss Fatma Bostan Ünsal, go ahead, Dr. Bayram. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Based on what Anna and Miss Fatma has shared with us, we're trying to, because Miss Fatma is saying that these are connected, and although the level, the scope in the Republic of Georgia is not at that level, but it is very, very dangerous because Anna has already introduced, this beginning. So what can you say about this, and maybe go ahead and tell our viewers, our global community, to how you pay attention to these warning signs of what's to come.
Well, up to now, what I was saying and you were saying, we both or we all were saying that all autocratic regimes feed each other, care for each other. On the surface, they might seem to fighting against each other. It's just to show, or it's just to appear that they are against each other. In fact, all autocratic regimes support each other either under the table or behind the closed doors, but they always support each other, they care for each other, they hate democratic regimes, they hate accountable regimes, obviously. Uh, and what was Fatma Bostan Ünsal saying, or Anna was saying, support this view anyway. Uh, well, we have got to fight against all autocratic regimes so that all of us safe. If any one of us is unsafe, we are not safe at all. We have got to use this motto and support democratic regimes, support human rights, human rights activists, support human rights organizations, agencies, fighting against injustice all over the world. Otherwise, the evils of those those autocratic regimes, will come to knock our doors one day. As simple as that. This is all I am going to say, and then thank Anna and Fatma Bostan Ünsal for their insight and contribution to this agenda. I thank them again. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you very much, Dr. Baram. Miss Fatma Bostan Unsal, do you have a message for the global community, to the people in Gaza, the people in Turkey, and around the world?
Yes, I agree with Dr. Bayram. Yes, there is cooperation between authoritarian regimes, but also there is cooperation between the humans. I mean, humans are actually victim of this process. So they are connected, they are coordinated, so they will overcome. And we have sensed some, I think, some victory or some positive steps. For example, in New York City, you know, a young and anti-genocide. I mean, he is against of the genocide in Gaza. A man. He is now candidate of the Democratic Party to be run as a mayor, New York mayor. It's not a coincidence. There are big crowds against of the genocide in Gaza. So people came together and make sympathy against them. And a young person who who is very successful uh, for the can winning a candidacy in Democratic Party is a huge thing. So humans, human humans general and ordinary person actually has power, but we do not know our power. We need to recognize our power and come together and make bigger. So, okay, authoritarian regimes have supporting each other, but the people, ordinary person, is actually when they come together, they will be powerful. And actually, in a modern world, the only power is people's power. So it's not a coincidence. In New York City, Mamdani's success is not a coincidence. Uh, for more than a year and a half here, people in the USA are against of the genocide and come together with the students, with the university teachers, with medias, even some public servants who is working in the USA Department, I mean Secretary of Defense or Secretary of State. They were working in the government. Some of them resigned. You know, they are I, they are they were so upset of the genocide in Gaza, so they resigned. It's not a small thing. It's really a big thing because they are aligning with the justice, and it's so important. And nowadays we can harvest some good things like candidacy of New York mayor of Mamdani. So people when come together against injustice, they will be powerful and they will overcome the injustices and they will overcome the authoritarian regimes, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is a powerful message. And before I call on Anna, I just want to share with you that I saw this people power in the hearts of the Georgian people. So they are courageous. And the way I can say this is because I lived there for 4 years and I know many of them. And so when they go out on the streets, day and night and day, I think when you say, Miss Fatma, that the people have to support each other collectively, globally, I think something will happen. So, Anna, please share your message to the Georgian people and the people, our audience globally.
Yes. So I'd actually like to build on something that Ms. Fatma mentioned. So one of the foundational pillars of autocratic regimes is dividing people, finding one minority and attacking it. So whether it's foreigners, whether it's a different religion, whether it's the LGBTQI community, doesn't matter. They always find somebody, they make them the enemy, and they foster this us versus them mentality because they realize very well that they're taking away people's rights. And as soon as the people realize this, they will turn against the government. So before they can turn against the government, you need to give them another target. And we all have frustrations and anger and problems during the day. So you need to channel that towards this one minority. They are the enemy. They are the ones actually destroying your human rights. It's not the government. So I think it is extremely important, especially for activists. And let me say that it's actually very scary to stand up for democracy these days. The whole world seems to be moving away from democracy. Even what we always considered bastions of democracy, something like the United States or the European Union, is starting to struggle a lot with it. So this is a global problem. This is a problem we all face. And I think this is why it's so important that we're all in this together. And I blame social media for this. It's so easy to see differences in social media, but there's actually so much more things that unite us. I call them sort of the universal truths of humanity. Absolutely every grandmother on this planet wants to make her grandchildren fat. Absolutely everybody likes to sit together and have a good meal. Every person on this planet, like every culture on this planet, has music and songs and dance and so many good things. We share so much more that actually divides us. Like fundamentally, I think I read somewhere that the difference in skin color on a genetic level is the same as the difference in eye color. This is how close we are actually to each other. This is how similar we are, and it's extremely important for us, for our message to be, we're all in this together, and we're actually so much more similar to each other. And yes, somebody might be telling you that it's us versus them, that we're very, very different, but we aren't. We actually aren't. For example, I really hate the word race because there's no different human races. We're all part of one species. We're all the same. And we really need to stand together in this, because otherwise we will lose something extremely precious, and that's our human rights.
Wow. That is, Dr. Baram, this is the reason why we started the Global Dialogue for Justice. This kind of conversation, this kind of messages that should resonate with the rest of the world, that especially the young generation have to pay attention to. So, like I said, we're no longer just trying to be aware. We have to move forward, and each time we come on this program, the Global Dialogue for Justice, we are informing the global community. We're asking them to stay engaged. We're asking them to act and to join and support those of you who are fighting for justice. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you again. This is only our third day of the Global Dialogue for Justice. We will continue until July 15. So thank you again so much. Anna, thank you very much. Miss Fatma, thank you so much. And Dr. Bayram, as always. And to all of you out there, we will see you soon.